Good morning everyone, welcome back to another video. It is quite early in the morning for me to be starting a video. It is about 6:45, but I wanted to do a quick morning garden walk for you all to kind of just share what the garden is looking like at the moment. And I was coming out here anyway. I like to just sometimes walk around with a cup of tea and just check up on a few things in the garden. So I thought I would take you along with me and do like a start of August garden tour for you. If you're new here, my name is Robyn and I live here on the south coast of New South Wales, Australia with my partner and our 2 cats. I'm also currently about 25 weeks pregnant, so if I seem a little out of breath throughout this tour, that is why. But I don't think it'll be too long of a video because I mean, there's stuff happening, but there's not a lot happening. It's like nearing towards the end of winter, so things are starting to kind of change over a little bit. And also the flower farm is starting to wake up again. We do also run a backyard flower farm here that I'm continuing to run for as long as I physically can throughout this pregnancy. And I do have quite a few rows of flowers planted down the back. So we kind of grow a lot of our own food in the cottage garden here. And I'll chat you through what the plan is for growing food throughout the property. All right, I need a few more sips of tea before this garden tour because I need to wake up a little bit. But definitely grab a cup of tea or coffee or some other beverage and possibly a snack for this video. And if you do like garden tours, then leave me a comment, let me know, or you can like this video, which is completely free for you and really does help to support my channel out. So I know a lot of this is going to change quite a lot over the next few weeks as the days get longer, but there is quite a lot planted in here. It doesn't seem like it, but there's quite a lot of seedlings. So I'll take you through. I kind of have quadrants in this area. This is what I call my cottage garden. I like to interplant flowers and herbs and veggies and natives, and it's just a whole bunch of things in here. So we might start on this side here. You'll probably see some holes and disturbed areas. That is our resident bandicoot that we have, who likes to dig around at night and search for worms and grubs, which is totally fine with me as long as they leave me some of my plants. So in this area, this was my no-dig bed that I have all of my cabbages planted. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. I can see that some are struggling just with a little bit of leaf colouring. There's some darker leaves. I'll try and put quite a few overlays on this video as well so you can see up close. But you can see that the leaves are darkening a little bit, and that's just because we've had just a few cold mornings, but they should be fine. What I am just doing is monitoring for cabbage moth butterfly, and the cabbage moth laying their eggs on brassicas is something that you just want to keep in mind. So I'm keeping an eye out for that. But other than that, look how much my society garlic has grown back. I chopped these back right to the ground and they have now since sprouted back up. I also have a David Austin rose in this area, and I have some silver beet that I planted and some parsley as well, just to kind of create a little bit more diversity in here. And we also eat a lot of that as well. Moving over to my peas. These are the Oregon sugar pod snow peas, and they've just about started to send they have actually put their tendrils up to the little trellis that Scott and I made. So it won't be too long before all of these are climbing, and I'm so excited for fresh snow peas. They're probably one of my favorite garden snacks to have. And then on the other side of those, I have some kohlrabi planted, which have grown quite a lot since I planted them. I can kind of start to see just a little bit of some bulbs that are forming down there. So these are the purple Vienna variety. I really love these. I love any kind of purple vegetable, just because they look really different. You can't really get them in the store. And I just think they also look really pretty in the garden. So I've just been monitoring these for the cabbage moth. They tend to leave purple brassicas alone a little bit more than the green, but I have seen a few grubs on these, so I'm just monitoring them closely. And then I have a beautiful rosemary in here that has the blue flowers or the purple flowers, and the bees absolutely adore this. And so do I. So I'm loving that in the garden. And I have a container of some daffodils that are yet to flower, and also some linaria, which is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite cottage garden flowers. I would highly recommend it. And these actually just self-seed throughout my garden, so I don't really need to plant them every year. They always come back, and they're just such a pop of like beautiful whimsical colour, so I love these. Moving on to the next quadrant, I have some jonquils that are starting to go over. I'll start to tidy these up soon, because behind them I actually have some anemones that are planted that have started flowering, and quite a few more brassicas in here. I have some red acre cabbage planted on this side, which are very small at the moment, and I've been trying to give these a good feed with some worm fertilizer. I might get some fish emulsion as well in here just to feed this area. And all of these little green specks, or most of them that you can see, are actually calendula that has self-seeded itself everywhere. So I'm going to have to come through and do a bit of a weed of that. My other David Austin rose, this is called Grace, is resprouting. You would have seen in another video I cut this back pretty harshly, and it looked really dramatic, but it is a really good thing for these types of roses. They respond really well to pruning, and now I have all of these beautiful healthy shoots that are coming up that will hopefully give me lots more roses this season. And this rose gets absolutely massive. It covers the whole area, kind of goes like chest height. It is so beautiful and has the most stunning apricot soft orange flowers that I sit over there. You can see Rocky up there. One of the cats is keeping an eye on me. I sit over there and I just enjoy the smell of these roses because they are so beautiful. I also have a few more kohlrabi planted along here, same as the other type, the purple Vienna. And where you can see some of these eggshells, I have some broccoli planted that really isn't doing that well. It's just being eaten by both the satin bowerbirds and also the cabbage moth butterflies. So I'm going to have to think of what to do there. And yeah, I do have a bit of cardboard around to just suppress the weeds. It's not the most aesthetic, but it does the job for now. And in this little patch I have some onions planted, which you can't really see, but I promise you they're there. And they are actually growing. So let's just hope they do okay. Moving on down here, this quadrant is quite empty, but just has some mizuna in here, some Canary Island lavender, and this kind of just shapes the bird bath that I need to fill up actually. And this is kind of like my wildlife area. I always like to have something for the birds and the frogs, and I hear all of the frogs in this area, so I know that they really like it, and so I don't really mind it being a little bit more wild in here. I also do have a rhubarb planted in there and some other little flowers, and this is my little fairy garden. So I have some anemones, more daffodils that I can just start to see their flowers coming through. And these anemones are so beautiful. They're such a delicate flower, but they last so long in water. They're actually, once their stronger, longer stems come, this is the first flush of flowers, they're so impressive, and they just last so long. I also planted another silver beet in here. This is a ruby red silver beet, so it'll have beautiful red stems. And again, I like to plant just greens and herbs throughout the whole garden to always have something growing in an area. Just in case something doesn't really do too well in one area, then I always have a backup. Also got some parsley, which has been hit a little bit by the frost, but not too bad, and some more jonquils. And then this area, I'm probably going to be planting tomatoes in here, so I am just going to mulch this really heavily. Tomatoes won't be planted in here for another few months, but I want to get this area sorted, so that is this week's job. So moving around to the other side, the last quadrant I have here is where I have my potatoes up the back, so I'll show you those. Have some weeds growing, lovely. I also have some borage, which is self-seeded itself, and you really do have to be careful with borage because it just self-seeds everywhere and will kind of take over your garden. I don't mind a little bit of it, and I'll keep this one and probably a few of these to have as like the edge plants to kind of stop the grass encroaching. But I definitely don't need a lot of the seedlings that have popped up in this bed, so that'll be again this week's job. Borage is an amazing plant because it brings up a lot of nutrients from below the soil and has edible flowers. The pollinators love it. It's also quite beautiful and quite whimsical and cottage-like, so I always keep this in my cottage garden. But I do really want my brassicas to do well. So I have some green acre and early Jersey Wakefield cabbages planted, kind of like in this mid-row here. And then on this row, I have some more broccoli. And this is a mixture of purple sprouting and I think just the green sprouting broccoli is pretty much all I grow in the garden, along with sometimes one other variety called Desicio. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, but I also do really like that variety. I do also have a row of onions up the front here. They were so small when I put them in, and I mean, they're still kind of there. Not really. I think we'll get a few maybe, but I wasn't holding my breath on them. We'll get what we get. And then I also have quite a few more jonquils planted along here. These remind me of my Ulma, and this is actually my Ulma's property, and before she passed away I would go and give her some jonquils at the nursing home, and she loved the smell of them, so I love to have these throughout the garden to remind me of her. So just some more brassicas throughout here, a self-seeded dill plant, which is fun. I love dill so much, so I'm happy to have that. I actually have another rose in here and a snapdragon that's leaning against it. So this is Litchfield Angel, kind of a softer white pink rose. And then I have my potatoes in pots here. I also have a lemon balm, and I like to grow lemon balm in pots just because it can really take over the garden and get quite large. So I'm trying to contain this one to a container. But I love lemon balm. It's probably one of my favourite herbs that I like to use in teas, particularly just like a nice iced tea in summer. Okay, potato update. These ones are yet to sprout, but I think I can kind of start to see things happening in there. I planted these the other week, so they're a bit more of a succession. And these ones, I just have a lid on these at night sometimes to prevent the bandicoot digging around. I hope you're enjoying the rooster in the background, by the way. It's so nice to hear in the mornings. But you can see all of these have sprouted, which is amazing. I'll probably hill some of these up this week or the next week. We have a mixture of Dutch creams, Nicola, and we have some more down here. I think a lot of these are Kennebec and more Nicola potatoes. So I'm so happy with these and how healthy they look, and they will grow very quickly now that they've popped up. So I need to kind of keep on top of hilling these up and just making sure that nothing kind of gets in there and digs up my potatoes. So that is kind of the cottage garden, what's happening there. I'll take you around the rest of the garden. Actually, I'll show you the other area of potatoes that I have planted in the ground. I had a bit of space over here and decided to get some in the ground. So these are Nicola potatoes, and I'm going to lift up I know it looks really messy, but again, bandicoot, animals, gotta do what I gotta do. I will lift all of this up and probably hill these up today or tomorrow, but they are looking so healthy and I'm so impressed. These are a bit more of an early variety, so I'll probably harvest these as new potatoes, meaning they're just going to be a little bit smaller and less likely to store very long. which is fine because Scott and I love potatoes. So we'll go through them, and yeah, I'm very excited for these. I think the one down the end is doing the best because it's right next to the compost bin, which this is almost ready. Pretty much is ready, actually. There's a bit of steam coming off that. That's good to see. But yeah, you can see it is nicely broken down in there. And Scott's been turning this every 2 to 3 days. So this is going to feed all of our veggies, or some of our veggies, I suppose. He's really taken more of a role on veggie garden planning and working on the veggie garden this year. He is, very excited to be growing a few things. So I'm kind of handing it over to him, a lot of the veggie garden work, which has been really nice. And maybe he can show you what he is planting and his plans for the garden in a few weeks or so. And we'll see if he wants to get on camera. But behind the shed here, also we have managed to tidy up the tree that fell down, most of it. We just need some people to come in with a chainsaw because I don't have a chainsaw here, and I'm not really I'm not really in the mood to be chainsawing a tree right now. But yeah, we need to just tidy this up a little bit. But behind that, I have some anemones planted. You would have seen in my last video, I came through and picked these. So I don't have a lot of flowers again, but I need to come through and give this a good weed today, just to get some ground covers out of here. Towards the end of the bed, I have some more cabbages planted, and these are doing much better. These are probably doing the best out of all the cabbages because I've netted it. You can see here, this is Bandicoot, Mr. Bandicoot trying to get in. Not good. And yeah, these are really happy in here. So they're looking really great. And these are all the red acre cabbages in here. And then opposite those, we have, I tried to plant some leeks here. It got all dug up by the bandicoots. So I'm just putting some trays over a few that I could find that remained. And when these get large enough, then I can take them off. But that's the situation there. And then under here, we have some more sprouting broccoli, which is doing, again, pretty good. I've been just feeding this with worm tea. That's been loving that. And I'm sure next time I show you, this will have doubled or tripled in size because they have grown so much over the last week or so. Right, we'll head down behind the hedge there and I'll show you what we have in the flower farm. It's definitely slow going with the flower farm at the moment, but I think still at a good pace. I mean, things aren't really, there's not a lot blooming at the moment because it's still quite cold. I can see my breath currently as I'm walking around, but there's a few exciting things happening in here, so it won't be long until we get some flowers, so I'll show you what's happening. One of the most exciting things is this ranunculus row here. This is a mixture of about 5 different colours of ranunculus. I need to move this net and actually put it away because I don't need it anymore. But I have been feeding these every week to fortnight or so with some worm tea just to give them a boost. And the other day when I was sitting on my garden seat here just staring at my flowers, I saw the first flowers coming. Hopefully you can see that okay, but that is one of the first buds of ranunculus flowers, and I can actually see more kind of starting to form with these plants, so it won't be long. I purposefully planted these up the top of the flower farm. This all slopes right down, and primarily this was because we had a lot of rain. We had a few hundred mils of rain in 24 hours, and I needed these to be up the top because water obviously drains down. And last year I had really bad powdery mildew with ranunculus, so I've also placed them up the top here because they're going to get the most sunlight, because it's very shaded throughout the afternoon towards the end of the garden because of all of these beautiful trees that we have around. There's a random wattle over there in the neighbour's yard that I love every year when it blooms and just fills that area with yellow colour. But yeah, that was my reasoning for planting the ranunculus up here. and they've done really well. They're looking really healthy, and I think I'm just going to keep up the feeding of them and hope that they do well. Behind them I have a row of stock flower that I kind of need to come through and do a little bit of a weed, but it's not looking too bad. And then I also do have a little bit more ranunculus there and some anemones. The anemones are looking really quite sad. I'll go over there and show you. These unfortunately just got really badly hit with all of the rain and just didn't like it as well. But they might bounce back, and they've all started flowering. I just need to come through, deadhead, give them a feed, weed this area, and they might be okay. But this was just so waterlogged with all of that rain, and yeah, it is what it is, but at least I still have the other anemone patch too. I've got some more status here that I'll probably come and harvest some of those today, and half an empty bed, lots of kookaburras saying good morning. But in this bed I'll probably plant some more status. And then I have a whole row, or most of a whole row, of some more stock flower. So this is a mixture of blue, pink, white, and I think that's about it, and maybe crimson of the column stock variety. It's my favourite one to grow, and they've all put on a lot of growth as well. They probably need a little bit of fertiliser, so I'll get onto that this week. But yeah, they're all looking pretty healthy. That's about it in terms of the Mr. Rooster. That's about it of the flowers that I have planted in here. The rest is all tarped, and I might add a few more flowers in. We'll have to chat with Scott, but the rest is going to be our veggie garden along with all of the cottage garden area. So that's kind of where we're planning on planting a lot of veggies. So we should have 3 rows of veggies here. So they will be 8-meter beds, and we are just in the process of collecting some horse manure to add to the beds as amendments, and then we'll plant lots of our tomatoes, capsicums, chilies, basil, all of those beautiful summer varieties here. And as you know, depending on how I feel, we'll transition the flower farm also into some more vegetable crops, still growing as much as I can. And I also do have this native garden over here that I don't show a lot of because it's usually pretty messy, but still functional. The aim for this area was to provide habitat for birds and pollinators, which it definitely does. And I've just come through and filled in a lot of the bare spaces with more flowers. So I have a dozen feverfew planted throughout here, in and amongst all of the other plants, and some more status in this area, and they'll do fine. The Banksia isn't too large at the moment and it's not going to compete basically. Something I need to clean up though is just all of this weedy area, but I think the plan is to probably get some mulch and just mulch all of this. Again, it's not it might not look amazingly pretty to people, but the small birds, they need this kind of vegetation to hide away. You can kind of see some flying around at the moment. I think they're not too sure about me being here, but yeah, plants like leptospermums, like that plant right there, perfect for small little birds because they can kind of nestle away and hide away in all of that kind of ferny foliage. They really like that. They also love native grasses, so I have some Phacelia planted along the edge there that also acts as an erosion barrier, so that all of this doesn't wash away, because we get a stream of water coming through here when it rains. We see some self-seeded calendula, lots of weeds in this area, so I'll probably just come through and chop a lot of this back. And yeah, just some more beautiful native foliage. Some of the leptospermums are about to erupt in flowers. This is going to be covered in creamy white flowers and look basically like snow. I'm very excited for this. And then down the end there, I have a few more native trees and plants, and again, it's just a habitat area. I have some beds here, and this is where I have been burying some food scraps, just to add a little bit more nutrients into this area, because we're probably going to be planting our sweet corn here, and we'll do sweet corn and also our melons and pumpkins down here. It's nice and shady down here in the afternoon, so the melons and pumpkins will really like that. And it's also really nice and moist. It gets a lot of water down here, so I think the corn will do really well down here. I have some really messy beds of feverfew over there that you can just look at from a distance. I'm sure you get the gist of that. And I've also got my compost set up down here that is doing really well. It was so full the other week, like towering up to like the top of the fence there, and has since kind of decomposed a little bit, and I'll actually continue adding to this probably for the next few weeks, and then we will turn this into this bay and let it sit for a while, and probably add maybe a little bit more horse manure into all of those layers as we turn it, because I think there might be a bit too much carbon in this, which is fine. It's just going to take a little bit longer to break down, but overall it's working how I intended it to. Right, I think I need to go have another cup of tea, continue to wake up a bit, but I hope you enjoyed joining me on my little garden walk. I like to do this most mornings just to kind of check up on all of the plants, see if the bandicoot has dug anything up, and just do general maintenance around the garden. And I like to do this before anyone else wakes up around in the suburb, because it's nice and quiet and peaceful, and I love early mornings. And as the sun comes up earlier, I am going to enjoy many more early mornings when it's still nice and cool. Can listen to Mr. Rooster the whole time. And yeah, just walk around with me and my bump and my cup of tea. This little dude likes to wake up quite early, around 6 o'clock. I will feel some kicking to get me up. So I think he also just enjoys the nice morning walk throughout the garden. So that was a little update of the whole garden, what's happening. Might seem a little bit slow, but things are definitely changing, and I'm not too sure whether I want to do like fortnightly or monthly garden tours. Maybe monthly at the moment, then we'll switch over into fortnightly, just because I really want to document all of the changes that are happening this year. Last year it was a little bit difficult just with the flowers because I was so busy all the time, but I want to make more of an effort to really document all of the changes that are happening, because I really want to remember all of this garden and everything that we grow this spring and summer, including so he can also one day see where we lived and all of the little walks that he came on with me in the morning. And then obviously later this year he can come around in the carrier with me and enjoy it as well. So thank you so much for joining me on my morning garden walk. If you do like garden tours or want to see more like this, then do leave a comment and like this video so that I know. If you would like to see extra content, I do have a Patreon channel where I share just extra vlogs, pregnancy stuff, and just what Scott and I get up to on the weekends. So I'll leave that linked in the description box. And I also do have an online store where I sell bath salts and other botanical gifts if you're interested in purchasing something from our store to treat yourself or a loved one. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's definitely been a while since I've done kind of a full-on garden tour, but these will definitely be very regular, so you can look forward to these. And yeah, I am excited to see how the garden grows this season. Thank you so much for being here again. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And until my next one, happy gardening, everyone. Bye.